All right, welcome back, y'all. Now, listen, we can't say too much about it right now, but at some point, probably in a month or so, here at Revolt Black News, we're going to unite with some big names, some folks y'all know and love. And we're going to do so to hold white corporations accountable as a part of a grander conversation so that Black owned businesses can operate at a level that truly reflects our talent and potential. And like I said, I can't talk about it too much right now, but in the meantime, our girl Rochelle Ritchie going to be having a very important conversation about Black capitalism.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Rochelle Ritchie back here on Revolt Black News to lead a very important conversation about Black capitalism and how it can lead to our equity and prosperity. Joining me in conversation is founder and CEO of the official Black Wall Street, Mandy Bowman, and president, CEO, and founder of Buy the Block, Lynn P. Smith. Thank you both for joining me today. Well, Mandy, I first want to start with you. You gave a very important and insightful TED Talk where you talked about how the Black dollar only circulates in our communities for 6 hours. Now, when you compare that to the Jewish community where it's 20 days and the Asian community where it's a month, it's really incredible and shocking. And a lot of people may not be familiar with Black Wall Street and how the Black dollar moved through that community. Why don't you explain to us how important it was for that Black dollar in that community and how that inspired you to start the official Black Wall Street?
Absolutely. This was probably one of the most startling facts I found when I first began OBWS. So while a dollar circulates in our community now for only about 6 hours, over a century ago, a dollar would circulate for almost a year before it would leave the community. As we all know, in the early 1900s, Jim Crow laws were at large and segregation as well. So during this time, many of us had no choice but to create our own businesses, our own systems, and create a self-sufficient neighborhood. Many times we were barred from working at or patronizing businesses that were owned by white men and women in the same way. So as a result, we, went ahead and created our own community full of Black-owned businesses, everything from Black-owned movie theaters to Black-owned pharmacies that were right in Greenwood, and it was one of the most prosperous communities in Black history. And when I look around and I saw that, and growing up in Brooklyn, New York, my neighborhood went through so many changes, especially with gentrification. I noticed that a lot of the businesses in our community were not Black owned, and that many of the Black owned businesses weren't receiving the same support that they may have received back in Black Wall Street days when we had no choice but to support our own. Because now we're competing with the Starbuckses and the Coca-Colas and the Targets. So even with us having a $1.3 trillion spending power, I knew that we could create our own prosperous and self-sufficient community. We just, the same way that we did back then, we just need to figure out where to put our efforts. And so that was the major inspiration behind creating Official Black Wall Street, creating this platform that would allow us to easily identify and vet Black-owned businesses that we could support all around the country and in other countries around the world.
Excellent. So I want to turn now to capitalism. We know that capitalism has historically been negative for the Black community, especially when we think about lower income communities. And we know that slavery was the foundation of capitalism. And then you couple that with redlining and white flight and Black flight and all these different issues. How has capitalism negatively impacted the Black community? And then furthermore, how do we fix it? Is there a way out of that?
Capitalism is a tool. Capitalism is a tool, and we have to treat it as such. It's used as a tool to historically, it has been used as a tool to be able to ostracize us or to leave us out. But we can certainly use that tool to be able to help our community grow. All of these these isms are tools that we can use. So I would really say that use the tool to collect individually as well as collectively. Collectively is the important part because that that's where our power lies. Our power lies in us grouping our interests collectively, whether it be human capital, whether it be social capital, whether it be financial capital, pooling all of those resources together and using capitalism as that tool to be able to empower us. So but use it as a tool, the tool that it is.
And Mandy, you can weigh in on this question as well. Again, thinking about capitalism and how that's negatively impacted the Black community. Is there a way that the Black community can use capitalism to its benefit, even though it's been so detrimental in the past?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, capitalism has hurt our community and it has, increased the wealth gap. Still going. The way that I see it, with all the different things or the different outcomes that capitalism has led to in our community, from, like you said, redlining, mass incarceration, employment, those are all systemic. I think in order for us to see actual change, it has to be political and governmental. But I agree in that I think the way that we move around it and get it to work for us, it is a long game of gaining wealth and then trying to redistribute it back into our communities, whether it be through programs, through creating organizations and foundations where we can, bring that wealth back into our community. But I think because we live in a capitalist society, we have to play the game in order to get to that place.
And now, Mandy, I'm going to stick with you on this question as well before I go back to Lynn. But the opposite, obviously, of capitalism is socialism. And we know that Gen Z and a large portion of millennials are in favor of socialism. But then when you look at, the hip hop community, when you look at entertainment and celebrities, some of them have sort of straddled the fence of supporting capitalism while also pushing socialist ideas. Can we do both?
I think we have to. I think we have to, just because of the country that we live in. I mean, this country was built on capitalism. It runs on capitalism. So I'm of the opinion that we have to kind of play the game and then use it to our benefit in order to get to where we want to go. I mean, I'm also millennial and I also gravitate towards socialism, just because I feel like, fair distribution of resources, whether it's housing or healthcare, or education, would be a major benefit to our community that has constantly been stripped of those things. But again, I also understand that we live in a capitalist society. So the way that I see around it, and even the reason why I built my own company, Official Black Wall Street, was to find a way to bring resources back into our community, or to continue to build and redistribute on our own.
And then Len, to you, when we talk about buying the block again and economic organization, is there room for both capitalism and socialism in doing that?
Yes, there's definitely room for both. The U.S. practices capitalism, or it operates capitalism but practice socialism. So we can definitely do both. There are social aspects to there are social projects or social platforms available in the U.S. We just need to be able to make sure that we are clear what we're doing, when we're doing it, and how we're doing it as a community. So I definitely think that we can use both. Use capitalism as a tool because we do have to attain the wealth, and then find a way to redistribute that wealth amongst ourselves to be able to collectively grow.
Hey y'all, now for full episodes of Revolt Black News, tune into Revolt TV. And if your cable provider doesn't carry it, make sure you reach out and let them know that you're trying to join the revolution. I'll see y'all every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on Revolt.